Hi guys, I'm Ben from Adaptalux, and today we're doing another macro photography tutorial, this time on coins. We've got a few really cool ones to show you, so let's get started. So coins, quite a popular macro photography subject. Obviously most people have them at home. If you don't have them in your home, then you can find them easily. I've got, well, a strange amount of commemorative £5 coins in my home, and they're really interesting. They've got some really cool designs and things on them. But that's not what we're shooting today. Today I've got something special. I've gone online and found this company called Dead on Paper. You can just about see their logo there. And these guys are a Kickstarter company, and they make custom coins with really, really cool designs on them. Now, they're not necessarily the same size as a real coin. They're not made to resemble actual coins. Like this one's a 1 cent, but you can obviously see that it's quite a lot larger than it should be. But these are going to be really interesting to shoot, and I want to get really close in and see some of these designs up close with the macro lens. I'll put a link in the description to the exact coins that I'm shooting with today in case you want to have a look at the exact same ones. But you can use any coins that you've got lying around that you find interesting, like this 1996 World Cup commemorative coin. It just doesn't have the same level of detail as the ones that I've got from Dead on Paper. I'll also put in the description a list of all of the equipment that I'm using today, but just a quick overview. I've got a D5600, and I'll be putting the 90mm macro lens on there to begin with, but that might change depending on how close in I want to get. We'll be using the Adaptalux Studio for lighting, and I'll do a couple of different lighting setups to get some interesting results, and we'll be shooting on a NovaFlex tripod. I'm also going to be making use of an iPad, and I'll show you exactly how we're going to use this in just a little while. First, I'm going to set up. Okay, so the first shot that I'm going for today is a shot from the side. And the way that we're going to do that is, obviously the camera is set up off to the side there. We've got our lighting over here in the form of the Adaptalux Studio, and we're going to be using it a couple of different arms. And then we have the iPad in the middle here. And what I'm using that for is basically as a reflective surface. If you look across it from an angle, which you can kind of see here from the angle that this camera is set up at, you can see that it's making a reflection. You can see my hand reflecting there, and you can see that the coin is going to reflect as well. And the lower down that you get, and the more across you're shooting, the more apparent that reflection is going to be, and the less obvious it's going to be that there's an iPad and that there's smudges all over it. We're going to be putting the coin up on its edge, so it's important to get the iPad or whatever you're using. Well, you can use a phone screen, you can use any other kind of screen. Clear glass sometimes works if you've got something dark underneath it and it's not letting any light through. And black perspex as well, or acrylic. And a white acrylic as well if you want to shoot on a white surface, that's fine too. But the important part is to get it level, because otherwise the coin is going to try and roll off when you set it down on its edge. To set up our lighting, I've got the Adaptalux Studio behind our subject setup over here. And I'm just going to pop in a couple of white lighting arms to begin with, because I want this shot to be quite representative of what the subject actually looks like. So I don't want to be adding any colours or any sort of strange effects or anything just yet, because I want the coin to look like the coin actually looks in real life. So I'm just going to pop two white arms on here, and I'm going to diffuse them just by clipping the diffusers on there, and I'm going to try and bring those around the side of the coin, which will be sat up on the edge like this, and that should get us our first shot. So the coin's balanced, and I've just turned off the studio lights so that we've not got any light pollution falling on the coin outside of what we want here from the Adaptalux Studio. Now you can actually see that the studio is just a little bit visible in the background there. So what I've got here is just a little black piece of material that's just going to sit at the back here, and it should stop any highlights being picked up in the background from any stray light that's just coming back here rather than on the coin itself. As soon as I turn the main lights off, I've turned them back on just so that we're not sat here talking in the dark. But just a quick comment on the settings that we're using. So I'm on ISO 800, I've got an aperture of f11 and a shutter speed of 1/40th. And that's just about enough to really bring out the shadows and the highlights on the coin when they're lit from the sides like this with the white diffusers on. I'm going to try another couple of bits just to see if we can add a little bit more visual interest to a shot like this, even though I'm pretty happy with this one. The other side of the coin then. What I've done here is I've still got the two main lights at the front, the two white diffused lights, but I've brought the Adaptalux up a little bit higher. It's on the mini tripod so that we can bring those lights over the front while also having a light in from the back. You can't quite see there, so I'll move this white light here, but we have a blue lighting arm coming in from the back, which isn't actually pointed at the coin at all. It's pointed at the iPad, at the ground behind the coin. I've narrowed the beam angle on that lighting arm quite a bit so that it's just a tiny little highlight of blue coming in from the base of the coin, which I think adds a little bit more visual interest. And because it's a nautical themed coin, I thought blue worked quite well, and it just makes from a very representative shot of the coin itself and the way that it looks. It's representative of the colour, and it still is because those two white lights are the only ones on the front of the coin, but it does add just a little bit more interest and intrigue into the shot because of that colour that you wouldn't normally see there, and a little highlight of blue on the rim as well. So for the other coin, I wanted to do a different setup, show you a couple of different ways of doing this. We're now shooting directly downwards, so the camera is pointing straight down, perpendicular to the surface that we're on here now, so that our plane of focus is directly across the coin and we can get the whole thing in focus without needing a really deep depth of field. The surface is... So this is just a wooden table, and it's got quite a nice surface on it, but the coin is a browny bronze colour, and you can see that's a very similar colour to this wood. And although that might look nice, it's not going to contrast and stand out very well. So what I've got here is a photo board made by a company called Photo Boards, and I'll pop the link in the description if you want to get some of these. They're really handy for changing the textures that you're shooting on, especially small objects like these. You can just, well, they have all sorts of different textures available, and you can just change these out and see what looks best for your particular subject at that particular time. Some people might call it cheating. You should go and find your own hardwood, aged antique floorboards. If you're like me and you don't have that in your home and you do want a quick and easy way of shooting small objects like these, photo boards are really cool. So I'm going to get going shooting some of these, adding some lighting to this so that we can highlight this coin as best as possible and get that detail out of it. So a couple of tricks that I'm using for shooting top down like this. We've gone back to two diffused white lights because I want a representative shot of the colours and the look of the actual coin, as if you'd be shooting this to display on a website or to sell, for instance. You want it to look exactly how it does in real life. So we're going to get that one first. To separate out the foreground and the background and make the coin stand out a little bit more, I've actually stacked it up on top of two other coins, which just give it a little bit more elevation and a little bit more depth, and it looks deeper and the shadow is slightly deeper on the image, and you can't really tell that there's anything underneath it. It just gives it a little bit more distance between the foreground and the background, which is something that flat subjects like this can sometimes lack. So as you're setting up your lighting, you can be looking through the viewfinder, you can be going to check your shots, or you can be using live view to turn the screen round, look at it from underneath, and you can see exactly what you're doing and how your lighting changes are affecting the reflections and highlights on the coin itself. And it's really handy to be able to do that with continuous lighting like this, rather than using a flash, which is going to be take a shot, see if it's right, take another shot, take another shot. So the continuous lighting is really handy for that. So that's it for another macro photography tutorial. I really enjoyed this one. I've been going at it quite a while. You can see that it's dark outside now, which actually helped for reducing a lot of the excess ambient light that was coming in and reflections coming off the coins. So maybe shoot at night, I don't know. These coins were really, really cool. I'm very impressed with these, and we got some really good shots out of them with the coloured lighting from the Adaptalux Studio. Of course, let me know in the comments down below what you guys think to today's shoot and to today's subject. I really like these, so well, I might be starting a collection, but we'll see. Let me know what you guys think, and whilst you're down there, make sure to give us a like. You can subscribe if you want some more tutorials and ideas, inspiration, and tips on how to use the Adaptalux Studio. But for now, that's all. I'll see you next time.